Hello there, I'm Thomas Hatsios, German American pilot flying the Boeing 737-800 new generation aircraft. It's a nice flight. You're gonna still fly from takeoff, climb, cruises, and approach and landing with me as a pilot. I will show you all the systems of the Boeing 737-800 jet aircraft in the PLANE11, and I'll show you the primary flight display with the airspeed indicated, barometric altitude, radio altitude, flight mode annunciator with the autopilot and auto throttle, later on vertical navigation modes, also the altitude indicator, the pitch ladder and bank angle and flight director, also the navigation display. It displays the flight plan we're gonna create, the terrain, reflections, the weather, and the traffic, other aircraft in the air, also the waypoints, the airports. And we have also other instruments. I will show you the APU, the auxiliary power unit. We're gonna need to start the engines. I will show you the engine startup process with the engine selectors. I will show you the overhead panel, the hydraulic, the fuel system, the pressurizer system, the cabin pressurization, also pressurizer from the engines and from the APU. We need for cabin pressurization, oxygen, and we can engine the ice in the flight. So you see, also I will show you electric system, pressurizer system, hydraulic, fuel, the ADIRU, the air data necessary reference unit, the yaw damper, the horizontal tail trim stabilizer, the flaps and the splash, and the speed brakes, also the thrust levers. Also you had to use the flight controls of the aircraft, the yoke that we have in the Boeing with the pitch trim stabilizer. Also I will show you the side stick that I use here, so you can see here we can climb, we can descend to the yoke movement. This is how the yoke moves back and forth. Both are interconnected, the captain and the first officer yokes in these aircrafts. Also you can see the tail trim. We have the speed brakes. Speed brakes extend. So the speed brakes are deployed over here. Also So we change some menu views. We need also the ADI system on over here. You can see we have the ADIs, wing enhancing ADIs. Window heat. Window heat on. And also some windshield wipers. You're gonna see, gonna take off all the ice from the glass. So you can see the displays. We're gonna create a flight plan. This is the 737. So creating a flight plan. Gonna use also flaps for takeoff over here. Just gonna use the flight management computer. So now I'm gonna create a flight plan using the flight management computer of the Boeing 737-800 new generation aircraft. Yeah, we're gonna connect in flight with the autopilot in the later and vertical navigation modes, and also we're gonna see in the navigation display the flight plan we're gonna create. This is, you will see now. You can see also the computer setup that I'm using. So FMC model 737-800 with winglets, index position, out of day, position initialize, reference airport, KSEA. So this will align the coordinates of the aircraft. KSEA back to KSEA. Runway, I believe it's 34. 34 left over here. So we have initialize, zero fuel weight, fuel on board, gross weight for takeoff, reserve fuel 5%, cost index 100%, cruising altitude 25,300. Execute. You will activate. So we have departures and arrivals. Set up the flight plan. Select departures, runway 34. The seat start arrangement departures. And then we have arrivals. Select arrivals, ILS 16 left, trans by trans Hawk Z5. Have a discontinuity here. Activate, press the lighted switch. It will activate the other flight plan. So now we'll display here how the flight plan is ready. We have to activate also. You can see the autopilot here. You can see the cockpit from another view. Nicer view over here. More setter. So we have yaw damper on and off over here. Alternate flaps, flight controls, electric power. You can see the original Boeing 737 aircraft systems. Also the crossfeed, fuel crossfeed. Oh, here it is. This way. You can see the APU we can turn on. Just in case we need the APU. You have to hold down for a couple of seconds. The switch until the APU is gonna be activated. Then we can reset the electric. We have equipment cooling. Hydraulics are on. Cabin pressurization in the automatic mode. We have to set also cabin altitude. How far we're gonna be flying. So this is for the cabin pressurization system. Set this higher actually, and setting the auto mode. Also APU bleeder over here. And we have a light. So you can see with lighted instruments, bright. The Adiro, you can see the coordinates of the airplane. So we set flight director on. Set the airspeed also. You can set that with the VNAV. So this is good airspeed, also altitude. We're gonna leave it like that initially, then we're gonna change it. So we're ready for the takeoff. Initialize flaps for takeoff. 15 degrees over here, and a V1, we rotate, can set 145, 150, 155. Center of gravity trim is gonna be 3.5 degrees. So we are ready for the flight. As you can see, so this is Thomas Hatsios, German America pilot flying the Boeing 737-800 international. You're gonna see now the full flight from takeoff, climb, cruises, and approach and landing. With me as pilot, we are fully configured. And we have terrain on the display. 20 nautical miles. So we advance the thrust levers, parking brakes off. So we need speed brakes down. So we overcome V1, we rotate, cockpit slightly. Just enough to get airborne and not strike the tail down after takeoff. So landing gear is up. You can see the displays after takeoff. This is the autopilot modes are connected here. The cockpit, Boeing 737-800 cockpit after takeoff. This is the Boeing 737 level 5. This is a beautiful view after takeoff. We're flying the airport here. So you can see the display, airspeed 191 knots. We are 8,000 feet above the sea level. The stall speed is about 120 knots. We climb with 5,100 feet per minute. Target airspeed, target altitude. 737, Boeing 737. We keep flying the Boeing 737 with me as a pilot, Thomas Hatsios, flying the Boeing 737 into nice flight, this beautiful jet aircraft with the Boeing company colors. So need how to use more altitude, higher altitude over here. To max this. You can see the altitude change, so I'm gonna use about 32,000 is enough, I believe. Also cross through some clouds over here. Gonna be over fine. We come back after landing. Now we make a turn into the flight line. We need to fly to the mountains, Seattle mountains. So this is the cockpit, Boeing 737, 800 after takeoff. You can see the panel over here, the ADIRO, other instruments. Cabin pressurization, the cabin is been pressurized. And now, so we have an oxygen for the flight. You can see it's increasing, it's going to 5 psi. And now the alpha valve is climbing, it's close. And also Also connect the autopilot for a while. Have to use the XNL now. Vertical speed, altitude hold. How fast are we want to climb our airspeed, and autopilot engage. So to engage the autopilot we use so we have the command now. We can use control wheel steering also. Use the command. So next waypoint. We're gonna use the direct tool. So direct to execute. We will follow this line now. Gonna overfly. So we reach the altitude. Gonna retract the flaps. Again, so we have the automatic trim also. It's adjusting the airplane. The auto trim, because the autopilot is working now. It's connected, as you can see, with the autoflows. So now it's at the altitude. gonna level off now. You can increase the airspeed also. So now it's following its flight path, as you can see, using the autopilot of the Boeing 737. It's an aircraft. Here's the auto thrust also. The airspeed, we can increase it. And we saw the auto thrust like that. And we can increase manually the thrust, the airspeed. So you can see the Boeing 737, the airspeed, barometric altitude, target airspeed, target altitude. Autopilot is engaged and we follow the flight plan, one waypoint by another. You can see the distance from one waypoint to the next, actually 21.9. We get closer to 21.7, 0.6, 0.5, 0.4. You can see how far away we are from our waypoint, 21, 20.9, 28.7 from PK's waypoint, 20.4. And the time of arrival is 1.43 time of coordination. Also the ground speed of the aircraft, ILS is engaged, ILS localizer. I'm gonna use less southwest now. You can see the autopilot configuration for now. It's gonna be that for the Boeing aircraft. Mach 0.7 0.727 Mach the airspeed. Gonna be overflying the mountain. We're gonna come back for landing now. Now we fly with Mach 0.78 maximum airspeed. We have the Seattle Mountains here. So we keep flying the Boeing 737-800 new generation model. Thomas Hatsios, the pilot, flying the Boeing 737. It's a nice flight, as you can see. Here we fly the Seattle Mountains. And we're gonna start turning back to the airport to the 2,800 feet. We need to use the next waypoint direct to. We fly direct into a waypoint. This is gonna be the one. Gonna come back into the airport now. Gonna make a turn. This is the aircraft turning automatically. Command on. So now you can see we turn. You can see the auto trim also adjusting the horizontal tail position. You can see the overhead panel, the pressurization of the cabin, the ADU, I'm gonna need to have it just for the case. We can come in position over the waypoint. Now you can see we are almost aligned with the runway over here. So we're gonna start descending for approach in a while after this turn. So this is Thomas Hatsios, the pilot flying the Boeing 737-800 last flight. Keep flying over here. We are heading back to the airport now. Gonna be about 20 minutes for landing. Some more speed. So this is the trim now. It's adjusting. And we have to start descending. I'm gonna select a lower altitude. Gonna set also vertical speed. Now the aircraft is gonna start descending automatically. So you can see now we start descent. So the airspeed is gonna increase as we are descending. Mach 0.628. Here's the airport. We're about 12 nautical miles away from it. I'm gonna use idle thrust, manual. This is the autopilot zone. This is the trim wheel. This is for the horizontal tail of the aircraft. This is for the engines, left and right engine. Speed brake, flaps. So gonna be a beam over the airport in a while. overhead. One more time, check. Please, all thrust commanded. Use oil. This is now the autopilot is engaged. Command is on, and now vertical speed. We are descending with 2,200 feet per minute, crossing 17,000. We are beamed to the airport. And I use less airspeed now. Speed brakes are gonna be extended. Need to slow down now the airplane. So this is Boeing autopilot flying the Boeing 737, and we are in the approach. For landing in the airport, and we are descending. The autopilot is on, and now we're flying. We're gonna be flying manually again in a while. Boeing 737, 800 new generation, as you can see. So the trim wheel is adjusting again the horizontal tail position, the angle back of the horizontal tail. We're gonna decrease the target airspeed. Gonna approach for landing airspeed. Now we cross through the clouds. You can see we see nothing from the clouds, so we need to follow all the instruments over here every time we fly with clouds condition. Instrument meteorological conditions as they refer to. So this is the point we need to start turning back for the airport. Use full flaps extended. Now decrease the airspeed even further. A vital thrust position. Gonna see the airport behind us. This is the Boeing Coban aircraft 737-800. Keep descending for the approach. So the airport is behind us. We're gonna start turning now. can disengage the autopilot. The pilot off. Gonna be flying manually. So now we are approaching for landing. Gonna make our first landing, and we're gonna make 2 landings.
Bank angle, bank angle, bank angle.
So another amazing view of the cockpit over here. So we are at the right altitude. We deploy some flaps now. Use flaps 35 maybe is enough. We can add some thrust again. You can see this is stall right now, so we can add some airspeed and push the nose down. It will accelerate the airplane to avoid stalling.
Bank angle, bank angle, bank angle, bank angle, bank angle.
So now we are approaching.
Bank angle, bank angle, bank.
To cut out the engine's power. So we are in the ILS localizer over here as we are approaching the correct glide slope, and now the ILS localizer is a little bit to the left. We're going to be approaching. We need to add some thrust again. Speed brakes now retracted. Gonna make it
Bank
to the
angle,
left.
bank. That's good.
We're gonna have a landing gear also down. Landing gear down now. So now we are approaching for landing with the Boeing 737-800 new generation aircraft. Thomas has the pilot flying, so you can see. The landing gear is down. The aircraft is configured, the 737 Boeing for landing. So we have the runways here. I use runway 16. We have visual. We're gonna glide the airplane with less with idle thrust on the runway for landing. Have to follow also the ILS localizer, the glide slope, adding some thrust from time to time. You can see we have some wind. It will make the aircraft weather coke into the wind sometimes. So we need to use cross controls in case we have side wind. I'm gonna use the approach button. I'm gonna have the ILS localizer on display. Have to use some thrust again. So we need to slow down the engines, increase the rate of descent. We're a little bit higher on the glide slope. Okay, so we follow again. The displays approaching. We are 2,400 feet above the ground level. Using the radar altitude, we are aligned with the runway. A bit too hard to the right. Need to make it off. We can add some thrust again. So we are in the approach. Decrease the thrust. We are above the glide slope. And increase the rate of descent. To be in the glide slope again. We overfly another airport here. We're on the glide slope again. And add some thrust again. Need to make it a little bit to the right using the ILS localizer. So this the wind is pushing us to the other side as we are approaching. So we need to use cross controls to realign the airplane with the runway. Increase the rate of descent. Use idle thrust now. Gonna be fully aligned.
50, 40, 30.
It's a very beautiful landing, as you can see. Increase also the thrust and go for another flight. Use full takeoff thrust. Speed slightly. Just enough to not break the tail of the airplane.
1000.
So landing gear is up. Decrease the thrust and we start turning. You can see we reach the stall speed again as we turn.
Bank angle, 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 bank angle.
So we're gonna turn faster up the
bank angle, bank angle, bank angle, bank angle.
We're gonna start turn. Now we are up in the runways. We can come for the second and maybe third landing and we have enough time before the video ends. We'll be flying at 3,000 feet. Flying over the runway here. We are about 5,000 feet above the ground level. We have the other airport over here. So the Boeing airplane over here, 737-800. Turn. We see also the overhead, and we are approaching. I'm gonna make the second landing now. Beautiful Boeing 737 cockpit. Need to follow the ILS localizer, and we can start turning for the approach now. Approach and landing. Adding some thrust. Flying manually. Make sure we have all the runways. The airport inside. We need to let it gear down also. So should we go one more time? Boeing 737, 800. So this is Thomas Hatsios, the pilot flying the Boeing 737, 800. Now we go for the second landing, the Boeing 737, 800. We need to be aligned with the runway. Adding some thrust also.
2500.
Again we have the ILS localizer. Over here is localizer, his glide slope, how far above the ground, the airspeed, barometric altitude, how fast we are descending. The airport direction is over here. And we are flying another airport over here. Decrease the thrust as we are approaching for the second. So this is the pilot flying. We are approaching for landing now, as you can see. So we have crosswind, we need cross controls. The rudder pedals here, and the irons and spoilers. A little bit more thrust again. Increase also the rate of descent. Using less thrust. We need to glide in the runway now. Increase the rate of descent. Use more idle thrust. We are center line,
50,
leveling off
40,
with the flare.
20.
And here we go, another loading. Almost center line. And another takeoff, full takeoff. Power. So we use full takeoff. Power. Up it slightly. 5 degrees for this airplane, so it won't strike at the tail for takeoff. And we start turning.
1000.
Another gear up also. Less thrust. Speed brakes are retracted.
Bank angle, 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 bank angle.
So gonna be a beam
Bank angle,
now to the runway.
bank angle, bank angle, bank angle, bank angle, bank angle.
And here we're leveling off. We have the airport here. Use full power now. Leveling off, avoiding the stall speed also. You can see the stall speed is about 120 knots. And the margin is 130, the warning margin. So we add some thrust to avoid stalling the airplane.
Bank angle, bank angle, bank angle.
So we reach the altitude, 5,000 feet. Now we need to move a little bit forward. I'm gonna start descending now. So we overfly the airport. Behind us, gonna come full loading. So you can see the ILS localizer is armed. Localizer, glide slope. I'm going to start descending actually. It's gonna be the third loading. Boeing 737 cockpit. Night view over here. start turning. Then we'll fly this airport in a minute. We'll start descending. So this is Thomas Hatsios, the pilot flying the Boeing 737-800 new generation. Now we're going for the third landing. Decrease the airspeed, descent also. Use more idle. This is the Boeing 737. Gonna make us sharp turn. Let's use a little bit more thrust for the turn as we're turning. A little bit less on the localizer. Also landing gear down. So we need to increase the rate of descent as we are descending. We are getting a good position for approach and landing. Now we are approaching for landing with the Boeing 737. Thomas Hatsios flying the Boeing 737. Once again, beautiful view. The airplane with the landing gear down, like using the airports when they are approaching. So now we need to follow again the instruments here, and now the airport at the runway. This is the LSZH localizer, the primary flight display. We are 1,900 feet above the ground level over here, 2,000 feet above the sea level, 155 the airspeed, 120 the stall speed. LSZH localizer here and a glide slope. Here the airport is displayed here in front of us. To make a small correction, we have side wind, cross controls, and add some thrust from time to time. Leveling also. Gonna be landing in like 3 minutes. So this is the LSZH localizer. We are aligned with the runway. In front of us is a little bit to the right. So we're gonna correct for the wind. This is pushing out the airplane to the side, is weather cooking. So also the runway, you can see glide slope. We are approximately the point that we have to be over here. Decrease the airspeed now, the thrust. Increase also the rate of descent.
200.
idle thrust,
100. 50. 40. 30.
you can see touchdown, very beautiful touchdown over here, speed brakes extended, reverse thrust, align with the center line on the reverse, useful reverse thrust. So we did a beautiful flight and landing. You can see the landing gear is safe over here. The nose wheel also. We were set align. This is Boeing 737-800. No broken wheels. Everything is safe. This is the nose wheel. And the landing gear, the tires over here behind it. No broken tires. Which is very important for 3 takeoffs and 3 landings in this airplane. Gonna use some lights also, hopefully. So we can see the plane now because night. So there's a lot of gear. It's safe from all sides. There's no broken tires here on this side. Also the nose wheel is safe. This is the walk around of the aircraft. That was Thomas Hatsios, the German-American pilot flying the Boeing Thomas Hatsios, German-American pilot flying the Boeing 737-800. Nice flight. Thank you for watching me. I explained 11 Boeing 737-800. We did 3 takeoffs and 3 landings. Also after the Airbus flight. Now this flight with the Boeing aircraft. So thank you for watching me. The explained 11 Seattle Tacoma International Airport and Boeing aircraft. Boeing 737-800 new generation model with the Boeing factory colors also for displays. I will show you other systems now inside the airplane. You can see the landing gear is safe. So we got nothing else left to do. The overhead, we check all the systems. We can see here we can press this APU for reset for the electric or get back the engines. Also here the crossfeed and fuel booster pumps, setter, and aft the yaw damper over here on and off. Yaw damper on and off. Electric batteries, transformer rectifiers, pressurizer, cabin pressurization, hydraulic fluid, hydraulic pumps, organizing on the ice. The engine start here, left and right engine, and the ignition for the engine. A bit more light maybe for the cockpit. This is again the walk around. This is the nozzle, he says there is no broken parts. Now the landing gear behind it. This is the airport, vehicles over here, other aircraft. I'm over here, 1, 2, 3, and another aircraft. So there is some traffic in this airport. So that was Thomas Hatsios, the German-American pilot flying the Boeing 737. Thomas Hatsios, I'll see you in the next flight. Bye bye. With another Boeing or Airbus aircraft or a fighter jet. Thank you for watching me. I'll see you in the next flight. Bye bye. So.